snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books.
Hi guys! So I am here today to do a book review, and I was very excited about this book. I was sent this one for free, but of course that in no way affects my review, and I was sent this one by Abrams Books, so thank you so much to them for sending it to me. I loved this so much. It was fantastic, and I'm so glad that I accepted it, because I didn't really know anything about it when I accepted it, other than it was kind of a YA sci-fi sort of thing, which sounded fun because I usually like them anyway. But this one was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I read this with Elizabeth as well, who happened to also be offered a copy, so I'll link her channel below, and we had lots of good discussion about this book. And it's a book that is very worthy of discussion because it focuses on a main character who is autistic, which is not something I've seen an awful lot of, particularly in science fiction and fantasy. I think it's something that is really relevant, really well done. And I think the author, Corinne Duyvis, handles this topic so incredibly well. I have an autistic cousin, so I know a bit about autism, but obviously I haven't lived with it myself. And I think that the narrator of this story, being autistic, really puts you into the mindset of someone who is autistic. It was really interesting to see not only how she reacted in certain situations, but also how it was to be autistic in certain situations, how she felt when certain things were happening to her, or certain people were making comments or doing tender actions and touching each other, things that autistic people can't always connect with and can't always bring themselves to do. So I really liked that it focuses on an autistic character done well. I must say that it was done well. The other thing is that this has an LGBTQ plus character, or a couple of them actually, which is really exciting, and again I think they were handled decently. I think that there could have been more done to make it a little bit more like natural, but on the whole I think it was done well, and I think it was interesting. In this story we follow the young girl Denise, who is the autistic main character. And Denise is with her mother, and Earth has been told that there is a comet coming to Earth, and on this certain date, on this certain time, everyone needs to be in a shelter so that they don't just get blown to smithereens. No one really knows what's going to happen once the comet hits the Earth, but everyone knows it's going to cause lots of disasters, lots of crazy stuff. Everyone has been designated a shelter, so she and her mother and her sister have all been designated a local shelter that they have to drive to. But when the comet is scheduled to hit, unfortunately her sister has been on holiday in Belgium and hasn't managed to get back, so Denise is left with her mother, who is a drug addict, and she doesn't know what to do. Her mother is driving her to the shelter, but they are very last minute because they've been waiting for her sister to turn up, and on the way they meet Denise's teacher, who has a different shelter to go to, but they cannot get there because their tyre is flat, so Denise's mother and Denise offer to take them to their shelter, causing them to be delayed even further. Instead of going to their own shelter, they end up finding something completely different, and that's where the story really takes off. Now, I think the interesting thing about this is that in this sort of situation where a comet is coming to Earth and everyone needs to evacuate or hide, and no one knows what's going to happen, a lot of people would leave the Earth. They would just go away and never come back. What's interesting about this is that it's called On the Edge of Gone for a reason. Like, they don't actually leave the Earth, they just sort of plan to leave it, and they plan what they're going to do in the eventuality that Earth just goes completely down the drain, everything goes wrong. We see Denise and her mother, and we see them leading up to the comet, as I said, their journey there, but we also see them after the comet has hit, and we see all the disaster and the ruin and the devastation that this comet has wreaked upon Earth as a whole, because it does a lot of stuff that is really bad for the human race as a whole, and seeing people dealing with the aftermath immediately after it's happened was really interesting, because a lot of the time you see like a post-apocalyptic or devastated landscape that's hundreds of years after, or a couple years after this tragic event. This one you see not only the event itself, but you also see the aftermath straight after it's happened, and you see the realities of people trying to cope with what has gone on, which is really horrible. There are some families who've been ripped apart, they've lost people, they don't know where they are, they can't find them, they can't communicate with them, and all of the power's gone down, all of the communication devices go down, so no one really has any idea whether anyone they love has made it, or whether they've all died, or what's gone on. It is a really sort of good emotional novel for that. Also, we have some other characters who Denise meets along the way who are really interesting in terms of giving her something to do and giving her purpose. And I think seeing Denise deal not only with herself and her autism, but also with her mother and her drug addiction, and then also with the other people who don't know them, who are strangers to them, that they meet, was really interesting. I thought the author did a great job of handling all of those things in a very, very good way. This is a standalone, so you don't need to read anything after this one, and I really like that. I thought it was good. It is left on a fairly open-ended ending, so you can kind of decide what you want to happen, and I liked that because for me this was a perfect length, and I think the way it ended was really, really good, and it left a lot of interesting thoughts in my head that I then discussed with Elizabeth and she with me, and we had a good time discussing how it had been left and what the author was trying to do by leaving it on that ending. I would say that this is genuinely such a good book. It stands alone, it doesn't need another book to support it, the characters are solid, the plot is fast-paced but still gives room for development of characters and world building to be done. So I really, really liked this, and I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars overall, really loved it and would love to hear your thoughts. I know Bree from Stories from the Shelf has also really enjoyed this recently and reviewed it on her channel. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.